Okay, this is first time I'm streaming, so I'm gonna see how I go. Uh, Very interested in feedback and so on. So let me turn that off. Yeah. Okay. I was just making sure that everything works. Right. I don't know if the screen is in the I don't know, the webcam is going to be in the way, so I might move it depending on how things go. But yeah, okay, go easy on me if you. But also let me know if there's anything that I don't know that's not working or something like that. Let me just get rid of that. Okay, so what are we going to do? We're going to well, at least I will. Hopefully, you will also be with me. Try to conquer the galaxy with in Stellaris. I'm not playing with any DLC in this case. I'm just sort of still getting used to the game, a little bit new, but played about 100 hours. And I think I understand it reasonably well. So we will play on Grand Admiral. And I'm going to do my best to explain my thought processes and all that sort of stuff. So why I'm doing certain things and so on. So I'll start doing that with this, I guess this setup of the game. I don't know, the species, you set up more than just the species. So the idea is to try and create sort of the best scenario for conquering the galaxy. So there are other ways of playing Stellaris and other ways of doing well in Stellaris, right? But that's going to be what I'm going to try to do is to conquer the galaxy and set up the species and everything else in the best way I know how. This is how I've been playing in the past, and I'll go through all the settings again, maybe change certain things. But the main, I guess, the principle or the way that I've been most effective in the game is to initially start with some research planets. The problem with research planets is that they take a really long time to get going. It probably, because you can't build research labs, I believe, until you've reached sort of 10 population. So you need to build sort of districts and then wait for the planet to grow. And then the other thing or the other kind of planet that is needed is of course, the alloys, so that you can build ships, right? So the idea is to get an advantage over the AI, right, as quickly as possible. And the AI is sort of bad at everything, and you just have to try and get ahead of it in one way or another, right? And research is a really effective way because it unlocks a lot of sort of ships and so on that let you get an advantage of the AI. It also helps improve your economy. So if you do research well, then all your other things get powered up as well, right? So that's why sort of research is important and specialist output is important. And then the other thing that's important is the alloys that are produced. So if you don't have alloys, you can't build ships, you can't build and upgrade ships, right? And alloys sort of get produced very slowly compared to maybe some of the more basic things. And then later on in the game, as you start to build battleships, that's when it becomes important around the energy credits. And if you the number of energy credits that you have really determine the size of your army that you can actually build in the end. And especially sort of one fully equipped battleship fleet takes probably a few hundred credits. I've never been able to see how much a fleet actually costs in terms of energy credits, but it feels like it's at least a few hundred energy credits. And from one planet, you can maybe get around 200 to 300. So anyway, early on, what's most important is the research output and the alloy output that you have, which is why sort of specialist populations are very strong. And then later on, you really need to find a large number of energy credits for production. And then the other thing that specialist pops produce that's important is the administrative capacity. So I usually find I need 1 to 2 bureaucratic planets. Imagine that, a world full of bureaucrats. That's, anyway, part of what you need in the game. And then the other thing that you need is in civilian, so sort of, I don't know, what civilian goods? I don't know what they're sort of brown ones. But both of those are really attacks on your economy because they don't produce anything valuable. You just have to have it, right? Okay, you can sell the whatever the civilian output, but it doesn't really get you anywhere, right? It's more effective to get populations producing energy credits to get energy credits than it is to produce civilian output. And it's the same with food, right? Like, you don't really care about food. You just have to have enough of it, but you don't want to overdo it. With minerals, it's a little bit of you do need minerals to build things. So I typically try to have a fairly healthy supply of minerals as well. And then you also need minerals for a lot of the specialist outputs, so the alloys and synthetic crystals and all the gases and so on. So you want to maximize energy credits, minerals, alloys, and research, and then probably energy credits is more important than minerals. And then you try to have close to zero of the farming output, so the food output, and the what do you call the administrative capacity. Try and sort of keep that close to zero. And then all the other stuff, sort of the unity and so on, it doesn't seem to matter an awful lot how much you actually produce, because I end up sort of unlocking everything anyway, and the bonuses are okay, but they're not sort of mind-blowing, right? So anyway, let's get going and create this, edit this. Okay. I personally am not a big, I don't know, the customization is cool, but I more care about the game mechanics and that sort of stuff. Not so much about the, I don't know, the visuals are fine, but it could be anything, right? For my mind. Maybe you're different, but anyway. Okay. Let's get rid of these, and then we can go through here. So a lot of these are quite similar, and you might say, oh, that's not really true. This one produces research output, whereas others produce more, I don't know, habitability. But in the end, most of these mean, okay, so if you pick more food from jobs, right, that's cool. So you need less population that is producing jobs, so you can do more of other things, right? So I don't think it matters an awful lot what you pick here. it's just that you do have to pick some. Even habitability, right? In the end, habitability just means that your population produces less. So if you have better habitability, then your population produces more and better output. Great. So to me, it feels that a lot of these are kind of similar, but it's what do you pick? What's the, I guess, the focus areas that you actually pick. So this ingenious is actually, the energy credits feels kind of good. I haven't picked this in the past, but let's take, so this, I do like picking the intelligent because it gets you a little bit of extra research output, but it's not, like this 10% bonus isn't mind-blowing. Like you keep getting 20% bonus research items, like you get 6 of those, which pales in comparison to this, right? So this intelligent trait pales in comparison to that, but it does, 10% is 10%. So even if you have another 50%, 10% is still, 10% more. Like it scales because of the percentage. So usually I do pick this. And then the other thing that you have to pick some negative traits that don't hamper you too much, right? The one that I find the least sort of, I guess, impactful is this one, amenities from jobs. Like, I think amenities are okay, but they don't really do that much for you. You just have to have a decent amount, otherwise the stability of your planet gets bad. But like even a couple of population working on amenities solves this problem, and whether they produce 20% more or less doesn't make that much of a difference in the end. Like it doesn't mean that on a given planet you have to have, you might have to have one additional population working on amenities, but it doesn't really matter. In the end, you have 50 population on the planet, right? So this one's pretty good, at least in the kind of build that I'm going for. Okay, so now I have another 2 trait points. Then what else is, what else do I usually go for? I usually try to go for -2s. The ones, I mean, they don't really do that much. So habitability is not a very good thing to pick as a negative, because it limits the number of planets that you actually get, which is one of the important things in the end game, is that you have as many planets as possible. Although this clears up, there's plenty of research that gives you extra habitability. What else? Unruly. So Empire Sprawl is just like an increasing amount of administrative capacity that you need to have. So it's not that big of a deal, but okay. Wasteful. All right, so let's just pick a couple of. I do like the population growth one. So the what is it called? And the adaptive one is pretty good as well. This one means that you can get a little bit more out of it. The only thing is that the growth, so the population growth pales again. Like if you have a decent amount of housing on the planet, you get like an extra 1 growth when sort of the base growth is 3, which is like a 30% boost compared to like, okay, a 10% boost. I don't know, it's not that great. All right, anything else here that I want? Agrarian, not really. This one would be good, the ingenious, but I have to pick something that offsets it, right? And the question is ingenious better than intelligent or adaptive. Adaptive means that more planets unlock for you, right? Like unlock for you early. Later on, planets don't really matter anymore because they take such a long time to get going. But the research is where you need to be quite good early, and then later on the research doesn't really matter anymore. But you need to get ahead of the AI quite fast, and the research output is how you do it. But then these energy credits, they do help throughout the entire game because you can turn energy. I mean, you can turn anything into anything, but energy credits is sort of one step away rather than two for a lot of the other things. And then the population growth speed is okay as well. But again, you have to find something to offset it, right? Like, what are the -2 points that I can't pick unruly? This is just adding another tax on top of it, right? So you have to have maybe an additional part of a planet working on administrative capacity, so don't want that. What else? And then this one, habitability, isn't very good either. So it doesn't feel like you can pick anything of the twos anymore. So then the other thing, maybe this leader experience gain. I've never gotten that much out of leaders. Maybe I'm not using it that well, but unity from maybe I need to try this. I don't really care that much about unity because you end up unlocking everything anyway, and I stopped caring about a lot of that stuff fairly quickly. So let's pick something there and then see if there's a growth from immigration. Immigration is pretty cool, but let's see if there's anything else. Pop housing usage. You end up having a huge amount of housing in the end. So, enduring, don't really care. Defense army. This one's good because it reduces how much civilian industry you have to have. So I might pick that one. Okay, let's see if there's a 1 pointer on research. Well, a specific research field. Natural engineers. So is this better than? I usually have so much problems with the civilian output. So let's go for that. And then where was it? Conserve. All right. Let's get on with it. So whatever. Fine. Hey, this is where maybe I could have a bit more fun if I had more of the DLC. And I'm not opposed to getting it, but I still want to get a little bit more out of the base game, and then I'll get more of this DLC. Okay. I'm probably going to stick with this, and I'll explain sort of why, right? So research speed plus 5%, that's pretty good. And the pace of your research is largely how you will outgrow and outperform the AI, right? Better research means that everything just gets better and better for the same input, right? You might say to me, well, why don't you go for research speed plus 10%? Well, what's even better than faster research speed is more specialist pop output, because the specialist population includes researchers, and researchers are the main way that you can get a lot of research, right? And then they also produce alloys, administrative capacity, and everything else. So wherever you can find anything that gives you specialist population resource output, like that's just really good. Faction influence gain. Influence is a bit of a... I'm not a big fan of using the claim system because you just end up picking away at them, at the AI over and over. I usually go for subjugation, But the annoying part of subjugation is that the subject has to be at peace, which is not always the case. Okay, so pacifists, probably not a good pick for a war game. Xenophile, trade value is okay. Envoys is nice. I always run out of envoys because you need to spy on people to know what you need to spy on the AI to know what their fleet strength is, and you don't really want to attack until you have at least they have inferior fleet, if not pathetic. Even at inferior, sometimes your fleet can get is sort of slow because the star bases that the AI has damages your fleet a lot, which is not great, and then you have to rebuild it with alloys, and alloys are hard to come by. The influence is good, but the worker population resource output is not as good as the specialist, and I'd rather both of these get you more influence. This one is more with factions, so you have to do more of the things that your population wants to get it, whereas this one you just get it, right? But half influence is also not that big, or even 0.1 influence. I mean, 1 influence is pretty good, but I prefer the specialist population output to the base. Don't care about Unity, and Edict cost -5%. I usually only use 2 edicts. The one for research, and that late in the game as well, because your influence is going to be eaten up by star-based construction early on. So that's why I'm not a big fan here, at least in the war game, right? Ship fire rate plus 10% usually doesn't really matter. There's a lot of research that gets you this quite a lot more. And if 10% ship fire rate makes a difference for you, like then you're fighting marginal wars anyway. Maybe there's other ways that you can get a better advantage over the AI. Starbase influence cost money. This would be a nice xenophobe, but some of the consequences of being a xenophobe is that you tend to not be able to get other species to be to be residents, and that means that they only really produce sort of the basic output, and after you've conquered a few AIs, most of your population is going to be other species, and you end up just having to move them around a huge amount, and you still don't produce more research and alloys and all that sort of stuff. And then the other thing is that migration is a really good way to open up more planets, and I'll show you that. And I don't think that the xenophobic factions will let you do that. Anyway, so that's why I usually tend to pick these two. And then it means you have to pick a democratic, I guess, authority. The elections, they just sort of happen, and influence, until the late game, influence is usually at 0 because you're expanding or incorporating an AI or something like that. Okay. This one's okay. I think there's one here. The meritocracy is amazing, right? The specialist pop resource output plus 10% means 10% faster research, 10% more allies, 10% more administrative capacity. This one's nice because you have to produce fewer consumer goods, but let's see if there's anything else. Don't care about Unity, don't care about this. I mean, environmentalist versus this, it's probably pretty similar. Functional architecture. This is just so little that minus 10%, it doesn't really make that much of a difference. Most of the upkeep that you pay will be for ships, and this doesn't impact ships, right? Pop happiness, mining guilds. this is okay, but I don't know. It's not that good. Like +1 when the base rate is like 8 or 9 is like an additional 10%, and it's not even a percentage output. So there's ways of enhancing it, and this doesn't scale with it, right? No, functions inference gain is not that good. Ruler pop resource output isn't. It's okay, but it doesn't. Yeah. Anyway, so I don't think it's between environmentalists and efficient bureaucracy, and maybe at some point I'll add this in. But yeah. All right. I think that's enough of that setup. I don't care about any of this. Sorry. Okay. So summary: environmentalist, meritocracy. This is really good. This is okay. This is really good. Spacious pop output. This research speed is pretty nice, but also not that good. This is about the same, right? Materialist. Actually, this is about twice as good in terms of research. I don't really care about robot upkeeps. I tend not to construct robots. Maybe I can explain that as we get into the game. I only tried it once. Anyway, I'll talk about it in maybe some downtime. And yeah, amenities from jobs, so don't really care about that. There's not going to be a lot of population working on the amenities anyway. This is nice. More habitability means more planets, means more output. Don't care about Unity because it's 10% less whatever. You unlock it at a nice pace anyway. And then this consumer upkeep is just a nice relief. You have to spend a bit less population on it. Okay. I wonder how different this is compared to what it was before. I don't think it's that different. Okay, small. Otherwise, you just get bored with games. Like the galaxy size just means that it takes longer. Anyway, AI Empires is fine. No advanced AI stats. Fallen Empires are fun. In the late game, you can conquer them. Anyway, they're not that hard to conquer. But you have to have once you have 100k battleship fleets, they are and you have 4, 5, or 6 of those, then you can attack the Fallen Empires as well. Okay, primitive, crisis strength. Mid-game. This feels a little bit. It felt a little bit too late in the last game that I did. Victory. Okay, difficulty. Change this to Grand Admiral. Normal. Now we'll see what happens in this game. I've only played on Admiral, but I'm interested to see how much better the AI is. I think they just get bonus to resource output, but AI planets are so badly managed. I'll show you when we can criticize some AI planets when we conquer some of them. This hyperlane density is nice to reduce it a little bit to create choke points. And choke points means that it matters for you to get to certain places. I might even reduce that. Oh, that's like a lot less. Let's say 1.75. Oh, abandoned gateways. I probably want to increase that a little bit to make sure that I get one. Wormhole pairs are okay. Kind of annoying sometimes because sometimes you just get invaded randomly because an AI has a defensive agreement, and then with another AI, and that AI has a wormhole to you, and then suddenly you have ships in the middle of your empire, so you have to be kind of careful with that. Okay, that's nice. Logistics scripts, I think these are fine. Okay, let's do that. All right. I wonder how long it took for me to get going. About half an hour. Okay. United Nations. Oh, we know all of this. All right, so picking research. Well, this is field modulation. This is really good research. Like all of these are actually really good. I will probably pick this. The research station output is nice, but most of your science in this, actually most of the science in this game will come from researchers. So this 20% is more for much more of the overall research output. So that's the one that you pick. Energy credits plus 20% is nice, but we'll get lots of chances at this one. And at the moment, this would be like, I don't know, 8 energy credits, so it makes very little difference. But this is going to scale, like grow and grow and grow, and this is how we get the advantage over the AI. Okay, population growth speed is nice, but 10% is very, very small compared to this. And again, this is how we get our advantage. If this comes up, this will come up again, but I probably won't. Okay, what happened? Let me fix that. All right, sorry about that. I hope everything is still fine. Looks like it. Might be able to see that I'm recording on a Mac, which is probably unusual. Maybe at some point I can talk about that. All right, let's see. Okay, nice. Corvette build speed. This is nice, but we're not going to be building Corvettes for a very long time. So initially I'm going to just keep up with the AI. And why does that keep happening? Okay. Initially I'm just going to be keeping up with the AI in terms of, and making sure that I have equivalent to sort of avoid the AI declaring war on me. But later on, this is going to be very nice to kind of quickly grow the number of corvettes. So the fleet is going to probably be made up of some corvettes, sort of for cleanup crews, and then otherwise battleships. Okay, anyway, I'll pick that. So that's a pretty good. You don't always get these sort of research options. It's nice that we got them. Okay, what else do I want to set up? Right. So the name of the game in the early game is territory grabbing, right? With your empire scales directly with the amount of territory that you end up having. And one of the things is that you want to stop or get ahead of the AI. I don't know why this keeps happening. This doesn't usually happen. All right, well that looks terrible. Get back to it. All right, I might have to investigate that. Why that keeps happening. I hope it stops. Is it me or is this? Anyway, quality seems to be low right now. So it's a territory grab right now, right? So what part of the galaxy are we in? Right, so there's probably going to be some AIs around me. I know that there aren't that many star systems sort of south, but there are lots of star systems sort of east and west, right? And so north, east and west. So what I would be looking for is basically to go out as far as possible, right? So of all the different star systems that I can research right now, all I really care about are the ones that have connections out. Here, let me try to see if I can do anything about this. One moment, I'll be right back. Okay, let's see if this is any better now. All right, I think everything is still working. Okay. So what the name of the game is, sort of getting back to the thought, is that need to find the choke points and sort of expand out as far as possible, right? So for example, this, if I was to scan this system here, I wouldn't gain anything but I would find out what's in the system, and potentially there's a habitable planet there. Although I think that if you have a border, they will show you what if there are any habitable planets. But I'm not sure what those rules are actually. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But in contrast, if I survey this system, actually I will have to survey this system to be able to survey this system. Still doing it. All right, hang on. think I've switched a few things, so might have to re-add. So it's the beauties of the first stream, right? All right, let's get rid of that. Yes, all of this. All right. Video capture device. Hold out the camera. You can see me rebuilding all of it. Let's keep that at 1280. Actually, make it smaller and put it into the corner. Stellaris doesn't want to go to full screen right now for some reason. Alright, let's try this again. Ooh. Video capture device. HDMI. Video. Okay. This is me playing around in OBS. HDMI video, nothing. Nothing's coming through on that, which is highly unfortunate. Let's see, download. Sorry about this. Allow. Hopefully in the future I'll be able to do a bit better. Apparently the USB was getting overloaded, but who knows? All right. Might have to restart. Stream link. USB 3 is required for this device. Right, so it has to go straight into there. Might have to restart the stream though for that.